Nairobi's population is about 7 million. And Nairobi has only two problems. It has a corruption problem and it has a criminal cartel problem. By the way, we have 8 cartels in Nairobi.
Okay.
If you speak to all these people who are seeking to be governor, they don't even know the cartels. They don't know them. The problem with the cartels is that they are actually state house cartels. All the cartels are agents of state house. The cartels are there for state house to access political money. And the governor has no choice. If the governor says, I am not going to pay these cartels, he will be impeached the following week.
Now, you're running for Nairobi governor. First of all, you have my vote.
Thank you for that.
Because when I look at
thank you when I
look at the ballot, I don't see somebody who has intellectual, power and some, who commands some planning. Because Nairobi is a mess. If you are Nairobi governor, what's the first thing you will do in your first, let's say, 3 or 4 months of your regime?
You have to understand that Nairobi is technically the capital of Africa.
Okay.
There are more than 8,000 organizations that are headquartered in Nairobi. And Nairobi is preferred to over all other African capitals because it's central. If you want to go to Lagos, people fly here, then they fly to Lagos. They connect here to go to Joburg. They connect here to go to Cape Town. They connect to go to these places. So people came to a place. I was working for an international organization. People said, just set up in Nairobi. Just set up in Nairobi because that's the capital of Africa. Nairobi's population is about 7 million. And Nairobi has only two problems. It has a corruption problem and it has a criminal cartel problem. Just two problems, and then everything else is solved. The corruption and the cartel problem, by the way, we have 8 cartels in Nairobi.
Okay.
If you speak to all these people who are seeking to be governor, they don't even know the cartels. They don't know them. I have written about these cartels because I want people to understand that we understand the problem of Nairobi. So you have to, first of all, render all cartels irrelevant in the governance of Nairobi.
Can we name the cartels?
I'm going to do that.
Okay.
The problem with the cartels is that they are actually state house cartels. All the cartels are agents of state house. The cartels are there for state house to access political money. So whether you're talking about the garbage collection cartels, you're talking about the revenue cartels, you're talking about the licensing cartels, you're talking about the land and urban planning cartels, which is probably the most notorious one, the water and the utilities cartels. All the cartels that we have in Nairobi are people who have state security and state protection. Why? So that they can get money for not delivering services. So there are people in Nairobi who have been given garbage collection contracts. They don't collect the garbage, but they are paid monthly. And they are a priority at City Hall. And the governor has no choice. If the governor says, I am not going to pay these cartels, he will be impeached the following week. It's almost immediate. The MCAs, did you see how the MCAs were called last year? When they said, we want to impeach this governor because he's incompetent. Half of them were called to State House, half of them were called to Honorable Raila's office. And they were told, quit. You cannot impeach this governor. is there to serve our interests. And Nairobians are there. They are seeing what's happening, that it's State House, which is actually the patron of the cartels. And what Nairobians say, we are going to elect a governor who is aligned to Ruto, a governor who is aligned to Wamunyoro, a governor who is aligned to so-and-so. So the first thing we have to do, I needed to give the background of corruption and cartels, and that they are sponsored by State House.
Yes.
So State House is so powerful. The only remedy is what we did in the county called Makueni under Professor Kibwana. The saving grace for Nairobi, even before we come in, is to first of all organize the citizens of Nairobi into what we call the Nairobi People's Convention.
Okay.
So that every ward, we have 85 of them, establishes a citizens council and a committee, citizens committee and citizens council, which has representatives from all the residential estates. They must be part of the ward council and the ward committee. Take South Sea, for example. South Sea is a ward. It has very many residential estates. Each of those must come to the South Sea ward council and committee. Do you know why that's so important? So that when MCAs stop the governor from implementing the revolutionary program, then you have to call on the citizens of Nairobi to very quickly collect signatures and dissolve the county government.
It's provided in the Constitution.
It's in the Constitution and it's in the County Governments Act.
Okay.
That's what we did in Makueni. When the MCAs refused to pass the budget because they were not being given the contracts, the MCAs. Kibwana, and I was working with him, we collected 117,000 signatures within 2 weeks, and we told Uhuru, dissolve this county government called Makueni. That's when the MCA said, oh no, please don't dissolve, because they know that once the county is dissolved, they will not be re-elected. That's the only, you have to deal with the MCAs to deal with State House. You have to deal with the MCAs to deal with State House. So that the transformation program of the New Deal for Nairobi is possible. Is possible. Without the people structures for governance, you cannot run Nairobi. You cannot deal with the cartels. The cartels will impeach you or they will kill you. That's what they will do. So you have to start from the core problem of corruption, which is sponsored by the cartels. And the cartels are from State House. So nobody who is going to make a difference in Nairobi will make a difference if he does not or she does not have the people organized from the village, the residential estate, to the ward level, to the sub-county, and then to the People's Convention of Nairobi. This is what can secure Nairobi so that we can be able to do the 7-point program of the New Deal very effectively within a very, very short time. So that we can be able to increase own source revenue from the current 21 billion to 68 billion within 5 years. Because the money is being collected by the cartels. Do you understand? There are cartels here who are collecting money from the stalls, the markets, from the rents, liquor licensing. You understand? So the pillage, the money is not coming to the government. It is going to the private cartels. There are lawyers there who are being paid 12 billion shillings. 12 billion shillings is a lot of money. Is all you need to actually transform Nairobi within a year. So you've seen now that Sakaja, the current governor, has handed over the county government to the national government. So that the national government cartels can now take the money quickly, faster, without oversight or by the Assembly and Senate. And the Nairobi Senator has actually spoken to this matter very clearly that what has been signed as the cooperation agreement is actually faulty because it is giving power back to the national government instead of cooperation according to Article 6 of the Constitution. So those are the things you have to do in Nairobi the first week. You must ensure that you exterminate the cartels. Day one. Then increase revenue, stop corruption, and you will transform Nairobi. You only need 1 billion shillings in Nairobi to ensure that all mothers and fathers who need childcare centers are provided that service. Because a lot of Nairobians do not have basic things, like when house helps, mothers who are house helps, when they go to work, they don't have places to leave their children. So they need childcare centers near to where they stay in the 26 slums of Nairobi, from Kawangware, Kangemi, all the way to Ngomongo and Majengo and all the slums. So you need to provide for, you only need 1 billion shillings a year to feed those children and get care for them, so that their mothers can go to work, so that their fathers can go to work and raise revenue to improve their families. So that you can be able to restore security. So everything in Nairobi, a mess is not, Nairobi is not in a mess. Nairobi has failed. It is a collapsed state. We are operating at the mercy of the militia and the cartels, as we called it. So we must take bold steps by centering power amongst the people in the 85 ward councils and committees, which is the collection of leaderships from all the residential estates in the ward. They must come in, the residential associations, and that must become the locus of power. Because if we liberate Nairobi, we will liberate Kenya. And once we liberate Kenya, the Pan-African dream of liberating Africa will be on course, and that's what we must do. It's not like we have a choice. We really must do these things, painful as they are. They must be done by somebody, and we are ready to do it.
You know, during last year's protest, I saw the Goons paid by Sakaja. And, you know, I've interviewed Ahmed Kabalu, Sudanese national.
Yes, I know him.
Yeah, but grew up in Britain. And he was telling me how the Janjaweed, which is now the RSF, how it started. It started by Bashir using these guys to do his dirty work. And that's how you graduate from goons to rebels. And now the country is just it's not even, there's nothing that's going on in Sudan. And I was like, and I'm telling Kenyans, and I know that's what you believe in. If we continue using goons, like the ones we saw, was it the other week, who they shot at the church and they threw tear gas at the church, and some people were sent there to disrupt the church was it in Central? Where was it?
In Nyeri.
I was like, do you people know where we are heading if we keep on using, if the government keeps on using goons to do dirty work?
Yesterday in Nairobi, for more than 4 hours, motorbikes from Westlands to Kilimani, all the way to South Sea, on Thika Road, everywhere. Yesterday was an orgy of violence. They were robbing and hitting people with blunt objects, others had guns, on motorbikes. From Westlands all the way, they were going Raptor Road all the way to these places. They have been licensed. They have been told, collect the money however you want. This is the Mungiki type of repackaging of these so-called vigilante groups. And so that the state is actually campaigning by allowing them. We don't have money to give you, just go and get the money yourself.
Wow.
And so we are a failed state. And once we allow for informal centers of violence and power, you don't have the state. The state has failed because you cannot rein back. You can't reign over groups that you are already allowed to collect rent from the public. So the double taxation that is going on there, you are paying to Nairobi City Council, you are paying to the government, national government, and you are also paying to the informal violence, militia groups and all that. So we have to stop these things. And that's why our vision is very clear that we must restore Nairobi to become the green and safe, secure city of youth, of human rights, and of opportunity. Those 5 things are very, very important in the vision. First of all, you must clean this city. You must clean it. Number 2, you must make it safe and secure. So that it becomes the city of the youth of the world. This actually, Nairobi should be the capital city of the youth of the world, because we are the youngest city on earth. Youngest city on earth. You see, most people do not know that in other countries, like if you go to Egypt, when the old people retire, they still remain in Cairo. Oh. But 80% of Nairobians, once they retire, they move out of Nairobi. So Nairobi is an extremely young city, but we are the most youth-unfriendly city on earth. We think that the only way to solve youth problems is by killing them, by silencing them, or by paying them to be goons against the other group. So we have a choice to make, in my view, and we cannot allow this kind of failed leadership. I say that we don't have leaders. The problem is that we don't have leaders. We have dealers. We have dealers in office. In office. So we must get leaders who know where Africa needs to be and how do we go there. When we started the show, I told you that we are not where we used to be. We have come many steps, but we have a long way to go because we don't have leadership. And so we must restore leadership, the institution of leadership, so that we know that the big enemy is out there, and we refuse to succumb to the divide and rule nonsense of tribes. Unite so that we can liberate Nairobi, and by liberating Nairobi, we will liberate Africa. Kenya first, and by liberating Kenya, we get the Eastern Gate to become the facilitator of Africa's transformation. People must understand how strategic Nairobi is in the African liberation.
Affordable housing. What do you think about the current affordable housing that's going on?
We discuss corruption as the 4th thing that you have to deal with when you're talking about the industrialization of your country. Let's begin by telling you that Ruto does not have an industrialization policy. He doesn't have one.
Okay.
He can't have it because he knows he was put in office to ensure that Kenya does not industrialize. So he tells us that by importing steel, importing doors, importing window frames, importing things from, that's how you industrialize a country. Now, you don't have to go to the university to know that that is not how you industrialize. You don't industrialize through housing. No. You industrialize by lowering the cost of doing business and by supporting education and skills that can be able to build businesses, lower taxes and interest rates, and that's how you industrialize. So Ruto does not have an industrialization policy. Even these opposition people have not had any who has an industrialization policy. Housing is, first of all, a devolved function. If you go to the 4th schedule of our constitution, housing is not a national government function. Let's begin there. That is supposed to be the business of county governments. To know how to house people through policy incentives. It is not the business of government to build houses. It is the business of the county governments to facilitate the access to land, access to materials, access to things that can be able to make local housing solutions to be developed by the people in that county. The tragedy, I've already said 2 things about housing. First of all, it can never be part of it is not how you industrialize, by importing everything. Then you think that you can be able to industrialize. So actually it's a conduit for this government to launder money. So you get 70 billion shillings from Kenyan taxes, then you launder it through importing things, and then that money becomes yours. The private companies. We've told Kenyans that you cannot build private houses on public land. So Ruto is building on public land. But those houses are private houses. So how do you use taxes to build on public land, then you get private houses? Does that even make sense?
It doesn't.
That's how criminal this enterprise is. And he claims that it is one of his biggest achievements. The achievement there is that he's able every year to translate 70 billion of public money to his companies using Asian fronts. There are Asian friends here who are now looking like they're the ones who are importing the steel and the window frames from I don't know where else and so on and so forth. So, if you are saying that moving 70 billion, which is taxes, and that's why a lot of Kenyans are not going to vote for him, because the pay slip has been stripped of all money. Kenyans don't take anything home after paying all these Ruto taxes, including the housing tax. So you get money in the name of housing tax, you import things, then you build houses on public land, and then those houses are private houses, which people have to buy from the market at 3.6 million, 7 million in the market. So there has never been a scandal bigger than the housing scandal since independence.
Then the people who will buy will rent it at market price.
Do you know why it is the biggest scandal? Because Goldenberg was private people getting some gold from some funny places and then selling imaginary gold and making money.
The golden, it's very...
But here, we are talking about collecting taxes. 70 billion, 69, 70, 73 billion annually. You get public money from the pay slips of people. You take that money and give it to private companies to import things and build. And then you sell that those are private houses that people now, the very people who contributed have to buy, have to buy from. It is so ugly. It's immoral. That's what I'm talking about. It's so immoral in its character and nature. It is sad that Kenyans have allowed it to continue. We went to court and challenged the constitutionality of the housing tax. Judges were bribed to make rulings that were actually unfortunate. And the corruption is so extensive, it has gone to the judiciary, it's in the executive, it is in the police, it's everywhere. And that's why corruption has stolen Kenya's opportunity and chance to industrialize, to liberate itself, and to become a partner in the African liberation.
Wow. And you spoke about Goldenberg. How did you let Patni go?
What did I tell you about corruption? Corruption is the reward you are given as local rulers so that you can allow the foreigners to take away everything. So there is no surprise about that. Corruption has been there from the first day. Next month, when are we doing Pio GAMA Pinto? Pio GAMA Pinto is on 24th.
24th
of February.
Oh, yes.
Pio GAMA Pinto is on 24th of February.
Yes.
In 1965, 24th of February, 1965, just a year after independence. Because 63, you remember we became independent in 63 June, then we became a republic. So 64 is the only year that passed. On February 24th, 65, Pio GAMA Pinto had already been assassinated by the Kenyatta regime. Why was Pio GAMA Pinto assassinated? Because Kenyatta had received money from Britain. I saw you discussing that in your show,
yes,
which was very impressive.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that we were borrowing money from Britain so that we can compensate white people to leave our land for us? I mean, if that's not a scandal, I don't know what is. That's how corruption works. So Britain sends money for Kenya to pay white settlers so that they can leave the land to Kenyans. Land which they did not buy. Land which they stole and killed our people to take. So we borrow money to come and pay them. What does Kenyatta do? Kenyatta does not even pay the whites. He turns that money to his money. And the Pio GAMA Pinto is going to Parliament on this particular day to ask the question on the floor of Parliament for the government to account for how the 9 billion pounds had been utilized to compensate, these white farmers. Because Pinto was aware that this money had been stolen by government officials at Treasury in favor of Kenyatta. And so what happens? Pio GAMA Pinto was killed at his driveway here in Parklands. He didn't get to Parliament. That was the first high-profile assassination in post-independent Kenya. That's why I tell you that this is really flag independence and that Britain did not leave this place. America has never left this place. We are a vassal country. Until we understand that our problems need us to deal with the internal enemy as much as the external enemy, we will not succeed.
Oh, so he didn't even buy the land from white people? He
didn't. That's how the money was privatized.
Oh.
That's how the money was privatized. And that was the first, biggest corruption scandal in post-independent Kenya, which cost Pio GAMA Pinto his life.
And by the way, he was murdered 3 days after Malcolm X.
After Malcolm X, and the two were collaborating internationally under the coalition of the African and Asian liberation movements. In the Pio GAMA Pinto was one of the most ideologically clear leader in Kenya. He was supporting Jaramogi Oginga Odinga and telling them how to shape policy for liberation. And he was not allowed to leave.
Wow. And
he was not allowed to leave.
Cyprian, to me, after colonialism, the biggest problem is our founding fathers, most of them in Africa, because most of them started this trend of bad leadership and of corruption and of perpetuating neocolonialism.
No, that's an excuse. I mean, that you see, you are Kenyatta and you are here and you've seen what has just happened to Patrice Emery Lumumba. So we have to have context. Why most of the founding fathers became corrupt as they became. I'm not excusing them. I'm explaining. I'm an intellectual. I'm not excusing them. I'm explaining why the behavior of most of them ended up being what it became. It's the context in Africa. You've even seen in 2026 that America can go to Venezuela and remove a president. 2026. What are you talking about? 1963. This imperialist, monster lives on blood. It destroys people in their millions for them to remain where they are. Just see what they have done in Gaza. See what they are doing in Iran. See what they are doing in countries. I saw the Zimbabwean president being asked a question and he couldn't answer it. He was asked about his view about what has happened in Venezuela. He couldn't even answer it because he knows these people can come for him the following day and take him away. Do you know why? Because these people have refused to do what Cuba did. Cuba is just a few kilometers away from Florida. But they have survived for 8 decades next door to America. Why? Because they did what I'm trying to do in Nairobi. You must organize people in cells. You can't deal with this monster all by yourself or because you are elected. You have to organize the people in your country. Look at what is happening in Burkina Faso. The people themselves have to be the owners of the revolution. They must defend it. They must defend it. So you must, our role as leaders is to organize the people so that the people can be able to stand up. Look what they did to Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah. Look at what they have destroyed African countries through these things called, regime changes, coups, decapitation of leaderships. Including a few years ago, you saw the son of the former British Margaret Thatcher. The son was involved in a contract in Equatorial Guinea.
Yeah, I remember.
It is active. It's going on.
Yeah.
These people have not left Africa. So you understand. You saw what progressive people like Nyerere, what happened to them. The policies, the imperialist policies, completely crippled the Ujamaa policy so that it fails. That's what they do. They destroy your economy. You cannot be able to provide services to your people. Then your people say, remove him. So Kenyatta was operating in that space. A lot of these people operating in that space where they know that we are having a young country which we have to very carefully try and bring together. But some of them were not like Nyerere. Some of them were like Kenyatta. So when Nyerere was telling Kenya that you've become a man-eat-man society, what did Kenyatta say? Afadhali sisi. I'll translate that in English. Afadhali sisi. Nyinyi ni man-eat-nothing society.
Oh, that's what he said?
That's what Kenyatta told Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere, that Kenya is better because it's a man-eat-man society, because Tanzania is a man-eat-nothing society. So that's the context of the 1960s and 70s. And we must not miss it. Because the kinds of coups that happened in West Africa, in all over this place, were many. And the divide during the Cold War between the West and the East was very sharp. So if you wanted to be removed from power, you just needed to be called a communist. And then you are removed. So it was very difficult. Those were very difficult days operating here. And the people like Jaramogi, people like Bildad Kagia understood the context that we were working in during those days. And so the struggle has to continue in Kenya. And we can see that the young people really have the spirit of Mau Mau. And that is why they are such a threat, not to William Ruto alone, but to the powers that be. IMF and World Bank and because the young people were not just occupying Parliament and State House. They were going to occupy the US Embassy in Gigiri. They were going to occupy churches because they understand, young people in this country understand that these things are actually working together to continue with the neo-colonial state and the neo-colonial policy and the subjugation of Africans and exploiting of Africans so that we can remain underdeveloped even with all the resources that we have. So young people are the ones we now must invest in. We must organize them, educate them, encourage them so that they can be able to organize more than mobilizing. Because young people are very good in mobilizing, but they are very disorganized. They are not organized. So we must build on their strengths, which is mobilization, using technology and others.
Yes.
By organizing them to coherent political parties that are ideological and organizations and social movements that can be able to destroy the neo-colonial state. And so that we can be able to build a democratic and developmental state. That's so important for us to march west, to work with the rest of Africans in liberating our countries. We will need to talk about the unification of Africa because that is central to the liberation of Africa. But we must start at home. And what you saw young people in Kenya doing is that they stood in solidarity with Tanzanians.
That was beautiful, yeah.
We are in solidarity with Ugandans. We are in solidarity with South Sudan. We are in solidarity with Ethiopia. We are in solidarity across Africa. Young people are our only hope. We have to do our role of mentoring them, helping them to organize so that they can use their abilities and competencies to liberate Africa.
You believe in democracy, right?
I'm a Democrat every day.
But you've mentioned Ibrahim Traoré,
yes,
who entered power through a coup d'etat.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
My position is very clear. We are on the side of Africans.
Mm-hmm.
We are not on the side of stooges of imperialism.
Okay.
So we now are at a place where we are going to encourage that Burkina Faso moves towards the democratic orbit. But if you ask the people of Burkina Faso, they will tell you that democracy, liberal democracy, as they have known it since 1960, I think 62,
mm-hmm.
when they were given their flag independence, has not created schools for them, has not built factories, has not built roads, has not done anything. It was Thomas Sankara during those 4 years who tried to do agriculture and education and the liberation of women. So what I'm saying is that liberal democracy has failed. Let me give you the example of Nigeria so that I can conclude on that. Nigeria has 220 million people. 98 million registered to vote. Only 27 million turned up.
Wow.
Tinubu, that gentleman who is the president of
Bola
Tinubu, was elected with only 8.8 million votes.
Wow.
8.8 million votes
in
a country of 220 million. You know, what I'm saying is this, that we can sit here and cheat ourselves that democracy works in Africa. Mm-hmm. It does not. I've told you that we don't even elect our president here. He's imposed. He's rigged using technology and other things.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Nigeria. Nigerians know who Bola Tinubu is. I'm not going to speak about it here. But Africans don't believe in this thing called liberal democracy, the ballot. It's a farce.
Mm-hmm.
It does not work and it does not deliver the goods. So the conversation about democracy cannot remain at democracy, the form. It has to go to democracy, the substance. What is the meaning of having democracy? It is ensuring that the people are at the center of the development and of decision making. So what's the business of calling ourselves a democracy in Kenya? Because we go to elections after every 5 years, when it's IMF and the World Bank who are running this place. All the policies that members of parliament are making are against us.
Mm.
We have a parliament which even makes a bill, a law, which says that the president can sell parastatos, state-owned enterprises, without parliamentary approval. Now, is that a parliament? Really? That's not a parliament. So let us contextualize the conversation around democracy. Democracy is so that it can deliver goods to the people and so that the people can participate and make decisions that are in their interest. In countries like Kenya, where the state exists against the national interest, that democracy needs to be reviewed.
Yeah.
That democracy needs to be reviewed. The people who are celebrating Ibrahim Traoré are doing so because they can see that this Traoré administration is delivering the goods. So the question is,
Which is better?
What delivers the goods? Not which is better. What delivers the goods? Is it military rule that secures our titanium and our uranium? Instead of selling it at 0.8 cents to France, this guy is selling the same at 220. And he's raising money to build roads and schools and agriculture and irrigation and the hospitals plants. And processing plants. People are saying, so what delivers the goods? It's leadership that delivers goods. If democracy is not going to produce leaders, even in Nairobi, it's of no use. It's of no use. So I am a Democrat on the understanding that democracy must produce leaders that deliver the goods. If it is not for institutions and leaders that deliver goods, what use is it? Is Uganda democratic? Yes, it is. Why? Because they go to elections every 5 years. Are we lying to ourselves? Is Tanzania democracy? Yes, it is. Why? Because they go to elections. And then what happens after that? What happens in between the 5 years? The people have no say in terms of what parliament does. The people have no say in terms of how police kill them. So then we are a democracy in what way? Democracy has 12 values. They must be seen to be in place. We can't just cherry pick one and don't talk about the goods that democracy has to produce. So if democracy cannot produce the goods, it has to be reviewed. We are not against democracy. We are saying review it. Review democracy. So that it delivers the goods. We can't just keep going to elections like in Nigeria, where corrupt men are the only ones who get elected. Then they steal. Then they frustrate people who want to invest in industries. You know what Dangote has gone through in Nigeria. He has cried heavy tears to operationalize the oil refinery there. So we know these things. That's why we went to school. We know exactly where the problem in Africa is. And we must, now the East African community, for example, is bankrupt because we are donor driven. 68% of the African Union budget is foreign funded. The East Africa community budget, 96% is foreign funded. Wow. Now donors have pulled back the money since Trump, and the East African community can't pay workers. It can't. But by next year they will be unable to even pay electricity bills. Wow. And you say that we are independent, and you say that we are a democracy. We are a democracy. What do you mean by being a democracy? If you can't even pay your dues to the African Union, if you can't even pay your dues to the East Africa community. So what is the meaning of a democracy? If it cannot be able to build institutions, allow for free media that is independent, allow for economic participation and economic rights. You can't discuss democracy as if it is separated from the realities on the ground. It has to deliver the goods for it to be legitimate. If it does not do that, it needs to be reviewed.
It must be reviewed.
And we will review it. Yes, we have to review it and we have to rebuild it. We have to re-engineer democracy for us to secure Africa. So we have to be very clear as Pan-Africanists what we are talking about. We know our situation of insubordination. We are underdeveloped because we are at the periphery. That's where I started. The periphery of capital and the periphery of imperialism. The core of imperialism still controls us and dictates everything that happens here. If you do not agree with these Americans and with these imperialists, they come and remove your president from office. And the world is quiet. So what Trump has done is that he has collapsed what we call the rule-based international order. The rule-based international order and this whole thing called United Nations collapsed with Trump's invasion of Venezuela. Because after that, he has created something now is called the Board of Peace, BOP. And Africans are not even talking about what's the meaning of America walking out of the United Nations and establishing something it calls BOP, the Border of Peace. What does that mean to global peace? What does that mean to the rule-based international order? What's the place of international law in Trump 2? Is that international law doesn't matter. The rule-based international order has collapsed. And we are seated here cheating ourselves that the international community is our partner and that we are going to secure global peace. No, we are on our own. We must organize as Africans to liberate ourselves.
Yes.
Nobody is going to do it for us. Nobody helped the Chinese to liberate themselves from Japanese and American conquest. What they call the Chinese 100 years of Chinese humiliation under the heavy shoe of the Japanese. They didn't cry to anybody to help them. They had to organize and liberate themselves from the yoke of a Japanese misadventure and the colonization. Nobody is sitting somewhere thinking about how Africans are going to be liberated. We have to do it ourselves.
Wow.
We have to do it ourselves.
I'm happy there's a Kenyan talking about this, because Kenyans rarely talk about Pan-Africanism. And let me tell you, if you look at the media, independent media space like the one I have right now, it's very few. It's me, it's Lynn, it's Alpha House, very, very few.
And you know why? You know why that is the case? Because we all have been fed on the menu of Western whitewashed education. We are all victims. I mean, what I'm telling you, I didn't learn it at the university.
Me too.
I didn't learn it at the University of Nairobi when I was doing my political science. I had to join Pan-Africanist radical education groups to actually discover what the problem is. Why Kenyans think that they are exceptional, that they are not even part of the African problem. Because we can go to the United States of America, we can go to Europe, we speak English, and we are the good boy, and so on and so forth. We are actually one of the weakest link to African liberation. We in Kenya. That's why you don't see, that's why the conversation is tribal.
Very.
And the people who are discussing tribal education, tribal organizing, we need power as Luos, we need power as Kikuyus, we need power. Power to do what?
Moi was president for 24 years.
Power to do what? Power to do what? You are in a neo-colonial state. You can't be allowed to industrialize. So you want power to do what? So that you can steal from the taxes. I mean, is that your ambition? That's not our ambition. So let us now educate. Nobody's going to, this space is for educating, political education, so that young Kenyans especially can understand that they are on the right path to liberation by rejecting these tribal formations, by electing men and women who are conscious, ideologically clear in terms of what needs to be done to bring a difference to Kenya. Kenyans need to know that they cannot continue to elect agents of imperialism like William Ruto and get a difference in terms of their agriculture. When foreigners have been brought in to do GMOs and take our land, and he has sold the rest of northern Kenya to do carbon credits. And he has auctioned Nairobi to these funny railway cities and chalking up a lot of debt. This is how enemies of our liberation look like. But we are being fed with cheap propaganda about what development looks like. Distributing cooking oil and a packet of unga and what, and this is development. That's not how you industrialize. Those packets of unga cannot build industries. Packets of unga distributed cannot. Importing motorbikes, borders, to give to young boys so that they drop out of school is not how you industrialize. No. You industrialize by doing the 5 things we've spoken about.
Yes.
You have to deal with interest rates. You have to fix tax. You have to deal with the cost of doing business. You have to crush corruption, not negotiate with it.
Crush.
You have to crush it. You have to crush it. And then you must invest in the people's education, healthcare, housing, agriculture, and food security, and food sovereignty, food autonomy. That is how countries progress. Countries do not progress by doing tribal coalitions and distributing unga and corn flour and cooking oil. No, that's not how you industrialize. That's not how you develop. And even if we are few, we must be persistent and consistent in educating the people of Kenya that we are a weak link to Pan-Africanism and to the liberation of our continent. We can't have stooges who are, genuflecting before our imperial masters in the exporting our young people to go and scrub floors and wash aged people in other people's countries and send dollars and then claim that that is development.
Yes.
No, that's not how you industrialize. So that is what we need to say. And this has to go across even to the so-called political opposition, who are clueless. They themselves, you hear the language of their rallies. It is, we Kikuyus, we Mount Kenya, we have to be in government. The Luos are saying we need power. And the, Kambas are saying it is our time to have power. And the others are saying it's our time to have power. And you are looking at them and saying, these guys are enemies of the people. They actually are our problem. Where is the content of what the problem of Kenya is and Africa and the solution, how we must organize and ideologically clarify what Kenya's liberation looks like? And so I want to conclude by saying that our third liberation must be responsible for completing the first liberation. That's where we have to start from. Number 2, we must secure our democracy so that it's not empty democracy like what we have here. Number 3, we must invest in economic liberation through industrialization. And number 4, we must join Africa in doing those 5 things that were adopted by the African Union. We have the 5 I's.
5 I's.
We call the 5 I's. Industrialization, integration, infrastructure, institutions, and investing in the people. That's what Africa has to do. We must be consistent until every African knows what the solution looks like. Otherwise, Russian men will be coming here and abusing our women. And walking out without even being pinched. And they do that because they know that African countries and states are failed states. This is how a failed state looks like.
When you allow anybody to come here and do anything.
We don't have sovereignty.
By the way, Cyprian, as we conclude, last year I interviewed, I don't know if you know the Moses West Foundation.
Yes, I've heard about it.
This man produces water from thin air. And it's high pressured water.
Yeah.
So I interviewed the number 2 guy in the company, and he told me, because I asked him, have you approached African presidents or leaders to bring these projects to Africa? And he told me, the problem with African leaders is they want to do business with this machine.
Completely. First of all, you have to pay them for them to allow you, and they want the ownership in that company. So it's a curse. We have a massive problem, and citizens are not questioning these dictators and tyrants. They are instead dancing for them and singing praise songs and using social media to glorify mediocrity and glorify criminals. These are not our friends. They are our enemies. They are the enablers of the continuation of neo-colonialism. So all these solutions are available. But Africans are not being allowed to use them because their governments know that they are collaborating with external powers so that we remain underdeveloped and so that we can have a mass of unemployed people who you buy very easily using $1 to vote for you, so that they can continue to steal the taxes. And so we have to understand where the problem is, that it is us who have to organize and liberate our countries. We can't leave it to anybody.
Well, if you could look at this camera and give your last word to Nairobi citizens, and if you can say a word to Africans, because we have a lot of African Americans and
that's right,
Africans all over the world watching this. Yeah.
Let me say this, that liberating Nairobi is strategic to liberating Kenya. We need leaders in Nairobi who will organize Nairobians so that they can stop the exploitation and the neo-colonial humiliation that we have lived under the Kenyan successive presidents over the last 7 decades. Because if we liberate Nairobi, we are going to open up Kenya and liberate Kenya to prepare it as a partner in the Pan-Africanist dream of unification and liberation. If we do not liberate Africa economically, we cannot be able to liberate Africa politically. But we cannot liberate Africans economically if we do not organize. In Pan-African language, we say, if you do not organize, you will agonize. So the agonizing that is going on across Africa is because we have not organized. So that in every country, we can get a government that is a partner of the people in the African Liberation Project, the African Liberation Project. That is why we are asking Nairobians to all register to vote here in Nairobi, because nearly 40% of Nairobians vote elsewhere, where they don't live, where they don't work, where they don't vote. So imagine you travel up country, register there, vote there, then come back to Nairobi. Then you find that the person who was elected as your governor is actually an appendage, is a stooge of State House. Then the corruption continues, the cartels continue, services are not provided. Here is the opportunity to ask Kenyans to register, Nairobians to register in Nairobi and register to vote for a Pan-African, a Pan-Africanist, a revolutionary, and a comrade, myself, Cyprian Nyamwamu. This is the opportunity for Africans and Nairobians to unite across Africa, to organize from Senegal to Nairobi, to Kenya, to Tanzania, to stand up and liberate our countries so that we can be able to unite as Africans, liberated to free our continent once and for all. That is why I'm running for governorship of Nairobi, so that we can be able to make Nairobi the center of Pan-Africanist organization.
Wow.
I want to be here to host Africans from all the 55 countries. We want to finance our own Pan-Africanist liberation. We must finance it. We must create space for Africans. We don't want Nairobi to be the place where Akiza Besigye are being abducted from, where Turkish nationals, Abdullah Öcalan, it is 27 years since Abdullah Öcalan was abducted in Nairobi and given back to torture. So Nairobi must become the space for African organizing. And that is going to need a leader in Nairobi who is committed to the liberation of Africa and the liberation of Kenya.